Hey everybody, Marc here, Tech Stack. We're going to talk a little bit today about project accounting, and I want to show how specifically technology companies, companies that are delivering services and driving a lot of profitability through those service deliveries can improve project profitability. Because if you're doing 100 projects, you want to make sure every single one of them that you do is profitable. If they're not profitable, you want to be able to learn from those mistakes and incorporate some of the changes into the template that drives future projects. So we're going to show you how in Tech Stack you can control all of that. We're going to walk through what the project layout looks like. I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate in what I show here today around some of the project capability. We're also going to talk a little bit about the time entry and how using in combination with the resource capability, how the time entry will drive project costs and project revenue. And then we're going to invoice the time that we've entered against a project in the example of a time material project, and talk a little bit about invoicing and how those invoices get over into an accounting system like Business Central. So why don't we get started? I'm going to actually flip my demo here, my screen, to give you a little bit more viewage on the software itself. So let's talk about Tech Stack and projects. So what we have here is a project called Tech Stack Implementation. It's for a customer called the Efficient Group. And we can see that this project status is in progress, and we have a project number associated to it as well. Now, the very first layout you see is that of a Gantt chart. And so this is a pretty typical view for projects. People like to kind of be able to visualize the kind of relationship between tasks on a project. So here we have a very simple project layout with 4 tasks. You can see that there's a parent line here that tells us that our project's going to run from December 8th through February 9th. And then our project progress is 23%. So it's a very quick view. I can see kind of what's going on there. I have this little slider in here, and I can move that out. And I can use this slider to maybe make changes to the start and end date of various tasks. I can see who the primary resource is for a certain task. You can see here for development, I don't have a primary resource, and obviously that's by design. I'll be assigning a resource to that shortly. I have the actual hours against budgeted hours for each project task, as well as remaining hours, and then the progress or percent complete, as well as if there's any variance. So there you have it. You can go and manipulate these project task durations just by grabbing them and moving them in and out. I can go in and add new tasks. So I can add child tasks, dependent tasks, or what we call a user story. An example of a user story might be in development, where I might have a chunk of hours, like in this case 100 hours for development, but I don't know the specific things I'm doing in development until we get through the requirements gathering. So you might enter the project with a statement of work that has a rough estimation that I need, let's say 25 hours for report design, 25 hours for adding new fields or whatever, but you don't necessarily know all the things that you're going to be adding. So you can use user stories to very quickly add kind of dependent almost like tasks against an existing task. The big difference with user stories is they don't necessarily drive out the duration of a given task. They just kind of nest within a task. So that's a little bit around the project structure, or work breakdown structure, sometimes it's called. And you can see that here as well. If I go under the project tab, you can see here we've got the name of the project. So by default, we always use the account name and then the project template name and concatenate that together. You can add a project description. You might just grab this from the statement of work. So copy and paste from the statement of work, but it's, it's typically a narrative that you want to be able to add. The reason why we capture this information is when you generate project documents, you sometimes want to grab more narrative fields. We have a project manager assigned to this project, David Addison. I've got a status. So you have new in progress. You could also add statuses like on hold or on pause, things like that. But out of the box, we'll ship with new, in progress, and then completed. But we don't allow you to change the completion there. We do it through a project complete button up here. And then you have the percentage complete of the projects as well. You have this concept of the team. So on any given project, you want to be able to assign resources to it. And so right now we have David Addison, who's a consultant, and he's been budgeted where he's on 70 hours worth of budgeted hours. He's actually completed 10 of those hours. And the hours estimated at completion are 70. So right now we're still on track. And then I have Stefan, who's actually just the client in this case. So you can add clients to projects as well. And the reason why you might want to do that is for approval, or they might have work assignments where they need to do things to allow your team to do things. Like, for example, maybe David can't get work done until Stefan provides files or information related to the project, things like that. We also have the project roles. So here you can see I've got 2 roles on this project. I have a developer and a consultant. Consultant, we're billing at 160 role price, and the developer's at 225. So if I opened up this project role here, I can go in and change my role price right from here. That'll impact your time and material billing. And then you also see the tasks related to this project role. So there's only one task for this developer, and that is the project task called development. So I can go in here and actually find the right resource by just grabbing this little find resource button, and it'll go through and say, hey, for the 100 hours between, basically in January, you've booked no hours, and these are the 2 resources that have availability and who fit the bill. So who match the role definition that you need. In this case, we've got a role called developer, and so I have David and I have James. So I'm just going to assign. You know what? I'm actually going to assign David in this case. And I'll book David. And so by booking David, you'll see here that if I go back to my team, you're going to see that the team members haven't changed. I still have the same team members, but I have David the consultant and David the developer, just because we separate this different role prices and different roles. So we separate the 2 here. You can see that David's been added as a team member for development here. Okay. You can also track RACI and you see the assignments and all that kind of stuff. So you can see all the things that we've assigned David to of the 4 tasks. All this information is right here. Now, why am I showing you all that? Well, if you look at the project, you'll see we've got a lot of information about this project from a costing standpoint and a margin standpoint. And so here you can see that we've got a budgeted cost of $8,500 for a budgeted gross margin of 67%. And right now I've got a few hours in it. So I've got $1,200 of cost against this project with an actual gross margin of 25%, but I'm still projecting to be in around my right project cost for this project. But David's a pretty expensive resource, so I'll enter some time against David, and you'll see kind of the impact of that in a sec. We've also got the either fixed price or time material breakdown. So this project doesn't have any fixed price components on it, but you can run fixed price projects. So a fixed price project would be one where you have a work under the work breakdown structure here. You can add like a billing milestone, say $10,000 initiation and $50,000 at completion. And then you can set up those billing milestones. But in this case, the project has been set up as time and material, where you can have a hybrid. You can have a mix of fixed price billing milestones and time and material milestones. But in this case, I've just been, just for the sake of example, just writing this time and material project. And so that's where we're kind of driving some of the fixed price information. So like if this project had a $50,000 fixed price and a certain number of hours to get it done on a fixed price basis, we're still able to calculate the cost, because the hours drive the cost, and how that rolls up against the not only progress but earned value of the project, and ultimately the cost of the project. Okay, so we have all that amount here, and you can see that kind of feeds up to here as well. So what I was going to do is actually just go in and enter some time against this project. Just for the sake of example, David is a resource doing work for both consulting and development, but he also is, I think I showed you already, he's a project manager, so he's going to be the one doing approval. I'm just doing that so I don't have to flip between users to show you the time entry approval and all that kind of stuff. What I'll do is there's a bunch of ways to enter time on a project. We'll go into that on another time, but we could do timesheets where you have, let's say, 40 hours of expectation in any given week. Anywhere between 32 and 40 hours is typical. 32 hours would be an 80% utilization target for a given week. And you can see as I enter time against that time sheet, it'll say, hey, how you've entered 8 hours against your 32-hour target this week. And it'll just tally all that kind of stuff. And it'll also basically pre-fill your timesheet based on all the work that you've been assigned. So it makes it super easy to do time entry. The way I'm going to do time entry right now is just very simply going to add a time entry right directly off the project. But again, there's like 10 different ways to enter time against in tech stack. I'm just going to do it here. You can see when I as a user, I'm David. I want to see the project tasks I have available to me. Well, he's been assigned to these 4 different project tasks. I'm going to do a development project task. And I'm going to say I'm going to enter time today. And you have 2 options for time entry. You could either do by hour picking, so you can pick the start and end time. So I'm going to say, well, I started my day at 8, and I'm going to end at 5. And I've been working the entire day on this project, and what it's going to do is calculate the duration for you as 9 hours. So that's one option. The other option is that we can turn off the start and end time, and you just enter the duration of 9 hours. Because this task at 100 hours, I'm entering 9 hours today. We're immediately telling the developer that 91 hours are remaining, and the developer could go in and say, oh, I still actually need an extra 9 hours, and update that remaining time to whatever value they want. Or you can see, I'll show you after, but you can go in and say, well, I actually got the work done in 9 hours. So it wasn't 100 hours, it was 9 hours, and mark it as complete. And that'll all impact the cost, estimate that completion, and the actual budget, actual cost against the budgeted cost as well. So all that kind of stuff works. So I'm going to save this time entry. You'll see immediately that the time entry has been confirmed, and normally what will happen is the project manager will get a Teams notification saying, hey, you got some time entry to approve. Go in and approve it. So we have a little window of all the time entry that needs to get approved. But again, for the sake of demonstration, I'm just, because my focus here isn't time entry, I just wanted to show you how we get costs and time against a project. I'm just going to approve it right from this window. So this, because I'm the same person, it's presenting me this approval. So I'm going to approve, and you can see the status go from confirmed to approve. And so now I have 19 hours against this project. So, if I were to go in and look at this project, and if I look at the time breakdown, you can see I have actual hours is 19, and remaining is 151. If I go back to the time tab in here as well, you'll also see the time summary there. So those are the time entries, and here's the time summary. So for a project manager, very easy to keep tabs on kind of what things are going on with this project. I also have the duration, the planned start and first time entry done, planned end date, last time entry done, etc. So all that information is easily available for your project managers. And so this is how we basically, in summary, kind of create the project structure, the assignment of resources, the time entry, the approval, how we tally all that information. Now that I've had 19 hours of time entry, you'll notice that there are no invoices against this project as yet. I'm going to go in and generate an invoice. So once the time entry has been approved, basically the process is to have somebody in some kind of oversight role. It could be somebody so typically the project manager is the first line of approval. Most of our customers have a second approval. It could be a finance resource, it could be the PMO. There's usually somebody in the organization that has a look-see before things hit an invoice. So we have a little section in our software called revenue. And here, if you look at all of my time material invoicing, these are all the time entries I need to get approved. So I have, for the efficient group here, you can see here I've got in total 12 projects that need to be approved. But for the efficient group here, I've got my duration, the sale amount, billable hours, and the total, the billable hours, and then the total amount, so the extension of 10 times 160, etc. So you have all that kind of stuff. I can go in, I can manipulate it. I can go in and say, no, we're not going to invoice this 1 hour. I'm going to make it non-bill. I can go back and force a rejection. But just for the sake of example, I'm going to go in and approve all these things. I'm going to show you the invoice that gets created. So I can go in and either reject or approve. In this example, I'm going to approve these time entries. And so what's going to happen is that this process will generate an invoice document. So I go over to our invoices, and these are all the invoices that I have in the system. You can see that I've generated still generating. You can see that I'm generating an invoice for the efficient group here. Actually, we just generated a couple because I had time entries on different dates. But here are the invoices that we've created. So now I'll show you what the invoice looks like really quickly. So I open it up. Okay, and you're going to see the records here. I have 10 hours of consultant time and 9 hours of the developer time that we've entered. We can basically see all the information, like payment information, you can add a PO, all that kind of stuff. Normally we would generate an invoice document, and so that invoice document would have basically all the details for these time entries as the back page of the invoice document. So as an organization, you can decide to send the PDF that TechStack generates. But in this case, I've turned that off, and the reason I've turned it off is we're going to use Business Central to actually send all the invoices. And I'm going to show you that Business Central integration at this point. Okay, so let's flip over to Business Central. We can see here, if I go to my Rule Center, Business Central, which is the accounting system for small and medium businesses from Microsoft, so Dynamics 365 Business Central. We've got a very strong, powerful integration between TechStack and Business Central. It'll handle all of your kind of customer integrations. So as you have new customers, so here, for example, you can see that in our TechStack extension, we have 7 customers that need to be set up. So for any given customer, you'll need to set up things like the posting groups and payment terms and tax area codes and all of these normal things. You might need to do a credit check, all the things that your accounting team will want to be able to do before you say, yeah, send over a bunch of invoices, generate a bunch of invoices for me. We have like a staging area that we've created. And once all that information's set, you can just click this little button that says, hey, we're ready to go, set ready for TechStack import. So you can see here we have 7 customers that need to get reviewed, but I can also see the customers that we already have set up. And so, here I have the one customer that we were playing with there, Efficient Group. And so we have information about this customer. We have 4 sales invoices, $91,000 worth of billing. I can go in and you see that this is part of the magic trick, I guess. Basically, there's 4 invoices that have been generated. You can see the amounts of those invoices here. I've got 70,000, 20,000 to $800 invoices. What I'm going to do is show how the tech stack integration will sync from tech stack to Business Central. So we've just generated 2 invoice documents in tech stack for the efficient group. I'm going to show you how those come over. And so I just wanted to show you what that customer record looks like before I did so. So I'll show you how we sync that in a quick sec. But I'm just going to quickly show. I'm just going to do a quick search on tech stack here, and you can see all the points of integration that we have built into Business Central. So tech stack, is a system of record, and there's a bunch of configuration that we set. So we'll create products that you sell. We'll create units. We'll create roles. Accounts. So in the industry we serve, which is technology companies and services companies, the account will actually be created early as a prospect, and as that prospect becomes a customer, the idea is that we should send that customer over to Business Central, and Business Central would then say, okay, that's should be a customer in our system. So we have an integration that does that. So the minute a prospect becomes a customer, it goes into the staging area. You add your tax posting, your posting groups, whatever, all that information. You prove it, you certify it or whatever. And then once that is set for integration, then we can start bringing over all the invoices that we've generated in tech stack. So that's how that integration works. So these are all the different areas that we integrate with Business Central. So quite a deep integration. What I'm actually going to do is force the job to run, because it normally would run a couple times a day. But when you're doing a demo, the timing isn't always right. So what I'm going to do is just force the invoice process to run. So I'm just going to go in and mark this as a run in the foreground once. And you should see a couple successful succeeded 2. Those are the 2 invoices I just generated. So back to the magic trick, I go to the efficient group now. What you're going to see is when I scroll down into the ongoing sales invoices, that I don't have 4, I now have 6, because I have the 2 that I generated in tech stack here, right? So I have the, you'll remember the $160 invoice and the $3,600 invoice. So now I've come over from tech stack into Business Central, right? So if you remember, if I go to the efficient group here, and I'll go to the account record in tech stack, and what you're going to see are 6 invoices for the efficient group, and you're going to see the same 6 invoices in Business Central. So if I go to the customer tab here, this is the account record in tech stack, and I see all of the open invoices, and you can see I've got the 6, including the 3625 and the 160, right? Now what's also really cool is if I go to the project, so I'm going to open up the project that we are on, which is the tech stack implementation. And the reason why we created 2 invoices, by the way, is that we actually have 2 projects going on. And so you can configure it to have 2 invoices for 2 different projects, because quite often there might be different parts of the organization, different approvals, all that kind of stuff. So that's why we generated 2 invoices there. But if I look under this tech stack implementation, you're going to see the invoices related to that project. So the 3,625. And if I go into the project, you're going to also see, you should see the sales amounts. It doesn't quite have it here. I have to recalculate it really quick, but it'll show you the PM, the invoice sales amount as well. So this is, it's a nice way to ensure that there's a communication loop that's closed, right? So quite often what happens in the manual world is, the PM's off trying to manage these projects. They're getting everybody to do time entry, but they don't know whatever hit an invoice. They don't know if there's a problem with payment. And the customer might be asking them questions and they don't necessarily know what actually went out the door. There might have been some last minute manipulation on the invoice. Maybe some stuff was marked non-bill, or maybe you're billing up to the max budget, whatever. There could be a lot of things that go on between the very last time the project manager touched a time entry and then the time it went out on an invoice. Well, here we can kind of close the loop on that, and it makes it really easy for the PM to see everything that got invoiced including what the status was, because we would update the status as the BC invoice gets sent to customer and or paid. That status will get reflected back into TechStack as well, and the PM has full visibility. Where we see this is especially important is billing milestones. To give you an example here, on the work breakdown structure, I don't have any billing milestones on this project, but just for kicks, let's just create one really fast. So I'm going to create a billing milestone. I'm going to call it billing, and I'm going to say the amount was $12,000, let's say. And this is the name. This is a project initiation milestone. Let's say it was negotiated in the agreement, and the end date, we're going to make it today. So a few things here that are really important. One, a lot of people, and especially finance, they don't have visibility on all the billing milestones that are out there. When are they coming? When are they due? Did they get approved by the PM? All that kind of stuff. So there's no visibility typically by the finance team. Well, we make it super easy to create that visibility. So if I go into, again, the revenue section and I go to milestone invoicing, you can see all the invoices that need to get, all the invoices that need to get, all the milestones that exist and the ones that need to get invoiced. So you can see the one we just created isn't here, but let me just go back to the record that we were on. So I'll go back to the project that we were on. There's a bunch of ways for me to get back to that project really quickly. I'm going to go here. And I go to my work breakdown structure. You can see the project initiation now shows up as a milestone, right? I can open it from here. I can go to the WBS, see it here. It's the same record. It didn't matter where I opened it from. But if I open this up, and I release it, I'm going to complete the milestone. So the PM is completing the milestone. It's saying, okay, finance, we've completed this milestone. We've initiated the project. So finance is going to get a notification, and they just go back to their little area where they live, and they go to the milestone invoicing section, and we're going to see the project initiation for Efficient Group has been approved, and this should be invoiced. So what they do is they go in, they mark it as approved, invoice selected. Okay, so what that's going to do is generate a brand new invoice for the customer. So we're going to see that Efficient Group invoice show up at $12,000. Show up in a sec. Okay, see, here it is. So this was the invoice here. Again, I go do my little trick. I'm going to run my little integration. Actually had a window open to do this, but let's do it here. Right, so I'm just going to run this really fast. So again, I'm just forcing the integration between TechStack and Business Central. Again, this would normally just run every hour. Not very handy in demos. So what we should see is succeeded 1. And so when I go back to the Efficient Group in here, okay, we should see 7 sales invoices, including the $12,000 invoice right here that was created. Right, so you can see the perfect tie between time material invoices and project milestone invoices, and how it would be impossible to lose visibility on milestones that haven't been released. So you can go, finance can go have a conversation with a project manager saying, hey, like you were supposed to have released this by now. What's the holdup? So there's that conversation. But then also if, the PM says, okay, I've released this milestone. We've seen countless times with our customers before TechStack where they just forget to invoice milestones. So there could be a $50,000 milestone and you completely forget to invoice it. And by the time you realize the project could be in code red, maybe it's closed, the project's closed, and you got to go back. Like that just makes for awkward conversations with the customer. So you want to make sure that's done timely. And you want to also be able to have some sort of, visibility on cash flows. You want to see all the invoices that are, or the milestones that are out there to get built. So this is an important component to cash flow as well. So we just wanted to show you how we kind of bring all that stuff together. And that actually completes my demonstration here. What we wanted to show again was some of the project capability of tech stack, how that costing and project accounting kind of works, and how all you can generate invoices in tech stack. But all those invoices will also get generated in Business Central, which is a superior accounting platform for professional services organizations. So I'll leave you with that. Hope this helps, and let us know if you have any questions.